Hello, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm with you every week, and I am from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So we've got lots of great stuff to talk over today. I don't have stats to talk about today, which is unusual, but they went on vacation, the people that put them all together for me. And so I am just kind of going over some other stuff today. I thought I would go over quite a few things in regards to new home sales. And one of the interesting things that comes out about that is that in the last year, new homes accounted for 15% of all homes sold last year. And I thought that was a fascinating figure, obviously, in looking at it. 15% of them were new. Now, I know that there's been a housing shortage and everything in recent years all over the country. And so as a result of that, that makes sense that there were some new ones that came into play. But that is up significantly from years before, because usually it's about 7 or 8%, maybe about 5%. But so 15% is a big number. Now, that could be looked at a couple of ways. One of the ways is that, there weren't as many homes that were sold in the last year as there were previous years as well. And that's also true. The number of homes, like people staying in their homes longer, is kind of what's been going on. If you're sitting there with a great interest rate of maybe your interest rate is in the 2s or maybe it's in the 3s, you've got to think really hard of whether or not you want to sell. And I have sold houses that people have had that interest rate, and believe it or not, it is assumable in many cases. There's a VA loan that we've got that the people are assuming a VA loan, and so that's happening. And then FHA loans are also assumable. So if you're sitting on that kind of a property and you want to move it, it might be a good situation for you to do it as allowing someone to assume that rate. So they can only assume your value, obviously, at that rate, and then they've got to get another second loan, or they've got to have cash to make up the difference. So, but that VA loan that we've got that's being taken over, that's at 2.25%, I believe. And so the new seller is getting, or the new buyer is getting a great deal with that. Now, the downside of it is that it is taking an awful long time to close, because the people that have that loan that are doing the assumption, they said they needed first a minimum of 60 days, and it looks like it's going to be more like 90 days. It's probably 80 days, but it feels like a long time anyway. The inspections are long done. Everything's been approved. Everything's been fixed that was going to get fixed on the home. And basically, everything's ready to go basically on the property. The only thing that we're waiting for is the closing date, which we're waiting on the lender. And the buyer's approved. The buyer is completely approved with the lender. They don't need to do an appraisal, because, like I said, it's about 50% of the value is what they're taking over. And the buyer had, a big cash payout and everything. And so as a result of that, they're able to get a really good deal. But so why are people motivated and choosing a new home? And the number one reason is what they're saying. 42% of the people said this was a reason, and it'll add up to more than 100 because there's a lot of reasons, but avoiding renovations or problems with plumbing and electricity was 42% of the reason of why people wanted to buy a new home, or why they thought that was a great deal. So I found that interesting, because really, I did sell a house in the last couple of weeks that did have, it was built in the 60s, and they had put a new electrical panel and that kind of stuff, but they weren't able to change the wiring in the home completely. So it did have cloth wiring in it. And I was talking to the electrician who did the panel, and he said there's no way to redo that, to rerun the wires and all that kind of stuff in that house. They really didn't build the houses back then that it was easy to do that. So somebody might think, hey, it's better getting a new home than dealing with the old home that way. Now, we were able to get insurance on the policy, so that wasn't, on the property. So that really wasn't an issue or anything when it came down to it. And the price point out of it was $230,000. So basically, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home for $230,000 in a nice neighborhood. That's also very hard to duplicate as well in our market. So basically, if you can get that, then that ends up being a win-win situation either. But if you're going to live in it and you want to make sure that there aren't any plumbings or electricity problems, 42% of the people are doing a new home. But one of the things that I really want to point out too, when you are getting a new home, is that there are additional issues that may exist on that. And you still should get an inspection on the property. One of the new homes that I sold within the last few months, basically the bottom line was with that is that there was a major problem with the air conditioner, and they did an inspection, and thankfully that all worked out, and they did it in advance, and the builder ended up replacing the air conditioner 100% before the homeowner moved in. So it was just a lemon air conditioner that was there, and so that was a big thing that they found. Another thing that they found was there was something with the way that the dishwasher was installed that the water was not emptying out of the dishwasher. It was complete. It was going a little bit, but not going all the way. And so there was a little bit of, when you ran the dishwasher, there was a little excess water, which is not something that you're looking for. So you still have to do the inspections when it comes to a new home. Another new home that we sold, they had the hot and the cold backwards when it comes to one of the showers. And so all of those things are easy fixes, but they do happen. And so even if you're getting a new home, it does make sense that you would get an inspection by a third party to come in there and check everything out for you to make sure that what you're moving into, you're not going to have problems the first night. They do check a lot of those things out, but they don't check them out necessarily with a fine-tooth comb. They are as they're going along. But if they have one of the subcontractors comes in and, changes that faucet around, then those things obviously could happen. And I've worked with a lot of builders, and the builder is the guy that actually is in charge of that particular project. And they do great in finding things and all of that kind of thing to make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, because the builder doesn't want people, having to have a lot of things go on after the sale. They do, but they would prefer not to. So basically, if your builder is experienced, that they're the one that is the main guy that's in charge and they're conscientious, then you have a lot less problems. But basically, it comes down to doing that inspection is not a bad thing, and it's usually a really good thing. The second reason why people wanted to choose buying a new home versus one that existed out there was the ability to choose and customize design features. So they might get a chance to personalize part of the build to their unique tastes. They can maybe it's small as knobs that go on the cabinets that they wanted to choose, or lighting fixtures and that kind of thing. And a lot of times that's going to come to a custom builder. Now, in our market, there are a lot of production builders, which means that you can pick a color scheme or something like that, but you can't choose a lot. But I'm going to talk a lot about this after the break. So if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So what I was talking about is basically buying a new home and the differences and what you're going to find out. and all of that kind of good stuff. And 27% of the people said that they buy a new home because they want to be able to choose design features and customize it and stuff like that. Now, basically, when you're doing that, the builders have different grades in regards to what you can choose. They usually have their design center that you can go to, and you can pick exactly everything out that you want. Now, that's some builders, and other builders, like I mentioned, they basically, you have maybe it's a gray or a beige, and that's it, or a dark or a white, kitchen cabinets, and that's it. But they've got everything all coordinated. And so some of those builders out there, like one of them says their tagline is everything's included. So what that means is that when they give you a price, that everything is included in it. Where there are other builders out there that they can go up 10, 15, 20% higher than that initial price, just because of the things that you're going to add onto the house. I remember going to a builder with one couple, and we were walking in, and I think the price tag was somewhere around $450 or whatever. But before we left, just the structural changes were $100,000. I think it was 112. And basically, that was, that they wanted to have an iron railing on the fence. On the stairs going up. One thing was just, it was just having another room downstairs. I mean, it didn't seem to me like it was big things, and a lot of those things were things that everybody would have wanted, and that's why they spent so much money on it. But that so when that base price or whatever of it is, that you're looking at probably about 30% by the time you're all said and done, in regards to more money that you're going to spend on that particular house. So it's really important to know what you're doing and who you're dealing with and all that kind of good stuff. And so when you're looking at new construction, knowing if you want to, design everything yourself, or if you just want to go pick a couple of colors or something like that. And I remember one gentleman that I was working with, and he wanted to keep his budget extremely low, and there were a lot of options that he could do. And so as a result of that, it's like he picked the things that he wanted to put in his house that were kind of non-negotiable and were going to be hard to change later. And he only added, I think it was about $3,000 or $4,000 to the price with everything that he had chosen, and so he was extremely happy when he got into the home and everything like that. But one of the things that he added on the cabinets is that he added crown molding on it, so that they went up to the ceiling and that they looked better and everything when you got to that point. So, that I was surprised that. There were so many things he said no to, but that was one of the things that he said yes to. And so basically it comes down to, for everybody, what's important to you? What are you really looking for? What do you want to make happen when you get into that house, and what you can do with it and all that kind of good stuff. So so first of all, we talked about if you're buying a new home, avoiding renovations or problems with plumbing and electricity. And we said that you've got to do an inspection to make sure that everything is the way that it should be. Then the ability to choose and customize your design features, which is another 27%. And then the amenities of a new home construction communities. So this is a big one for people that they either love or they hate. Now, one thing that you have to be very concerned about or aware of in Central Florida is a thing called a CDD. So you might look and say, hey, what's the HOA? And they might tell you, oh, it's only $10 a month. And you think, oh, that's great. And they have a swimming pool, and they have bike paths, and they have tennis courts and pickleball courts, and they've got a community center and all of that stuff. And there's about 300 or 400 houses in there, and they're supporting all of that on $10 a month. And the bottom line is, no, they're not doing that, because what they've done is that in your taxes, that CDD is what has created those the costs or fielded the cost of those amenities. And so a lot of that happens today in new home communities. And so you just have to be aware of it and know what it is and look at that as well. So I have a lot of people that look at taxes when they go to buy a house, and that's not necessarily a good thing because it's not necessarily accurate. Because if it's homesteaded and you're going to move into it, the prices are always going to reset to the price you paid for the property. So a lot of people aren't aware of that. So that's the first thing. But then if there's a CDD included as well, that could be a lot more money that you're not aware of. So I've seen it be $1,000, $2,000, $1,500 a year, or whatever, that goes into your taxes. So your HOA bill is actually, instead of that $10, it was more like, $110 or maybe $210 if it's a gated community. And so you really have to know and compare apples to apples when you're looking at it. And like I tell people, a lot of times, if you're looking at one new home community and you will really like the house that's there, but you don't want all the amenities that there, or maybe you do, there might be a community that's within a mile, really, of where you're at that particular moment. And it's the exact same house that you can get with fewer amenities or more amenities. So it's something that you really want to make sure that you are looking at and everything when it comes down to it. And then the next thing on our list, it says lack of inventory of previously owned homes. 15% of the people got new homes, for that reason. Now, in our market, that may or may not be the case, because everything's very local when it comes to if there's homes available and that kind of thing. A lot of times what happens, in my opinion, with a new home is that a lot of the builders are offering incentives when it comes to the interest rate. And so you can get a lot better interest rate when you're going with the builder because they're buying down the rate. So when they buy down the rate, that does a couple of things for you as an individual. First of all, the one thing that it does is it allows you to be able to buy more bang for your buck. You can get a higher priced house paying the same amount that you would for a lower priced house, somewhere else because your interest rate is lower. And so that's one thing that they do. And what they've realized is that they can attract more people, that more people can qualify for the house. And so that's what they're doing, is that they're going ahead and they're making sure that more people can qualify for that house and they can move it quicker if they have a better interest rate. So that'll last while it works. And basically that's what's going on a lot today. And so there are a lot of opportunities out there. I've got a couple of them that I'm looking at right in front of me right now. They're at 4.99%. And, this house here, that's 4.99 is basically what I'm seeing here is a lot of times where they're going. And they figure that if it's right at 5%, that people like it and they'll go with it. And so basically, you can afford more house because regardless of how frugal you are, or if you want to put all your money into your house and stuff like that, if you're getting a loan, it's government regulated in regards to the percentage that you can spend on housing. And so as a result of that, there's a limit that comes down to it, right, in regards to how much you can afford and everything. And so it might be that at a 5% interest rate, you can afford a $450,000 house, and at a 6%, you can afford a $400,000 or a $380,000 house. So the builders are smart. So they're like, hey, we'll let you buy that $450,000 house, but we'll let you get that interest rate at 5%. And so they're getting more money in their pocket as a result of that. And you're getting the house that you want for more money that you couldn't afford one of them that's on the market and everything right now. So I think it's really important to look at that whole thing. Next on our list are energy efficiency, that people are looking for, that they want to make sure that it can lead to lower utility bills and a reduced environmental footprint. Years ago, like probably 20 years ago in Central Florida, most of the houses did not come with double pane windows. They were all single pane. But what has happened now is that most of the houses that you see that are being newly built are double pane windows. So you're going to have, better insulation and all of that when it comes down to it in regards to making sure that people are getting exactly what they want. And then when it comes to energy efficient appliances and stuff, like I thought naively until a couple of years ago that pretty much if you bought a new refrigerator, it was going to be energy efficient. Well, what I found out when I went shopping for a new refrigerator is that the energy efficient ones actually close themselves. They can't stay open. If you're getting one that's not energy efficient, many times it'll beep at you that it's open. Hey, I'm open. You might want to close me. But that's as far as it goes. But these energy efficiency ones, they actually close on their own. So pretty amazing in regards to what the technology and all those kinds of things are out there. But energy efficiency, 14% of the people out there decided that that was something that they wanted and why they chose a new home over a resale home. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we will see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So today we're talking about new home construction, basically is what we're doing. And, I've kind of been stuck on this, I guess I'll show and might as well continue on with it. But I found it interesting as I started out that 15% of all of the sales last year, and this is nationwide, were new versus resale. And so these are the reasons why people were choosing them. And so what we've gone through already are avoiding renovations and problems with plumbing or electricity, the ability to choose and customize your design features, the amenities of new home construction communities, lack of inventory of previously owned homes, which I don't think is as much of a problem here. Then you've got energy efficiency, and then we've got smart home features. So this is basically something that 11% of the people liked, that tech-savvy buyers often want the latest and greatest advancement, and new home construction usually delivers. If you go to some of the builders, it's interesting, in their model home, they've got like these cutouts of the walls, and so they're like, here's your insulation, and this is, what we've got in regards to the smart home things that exist for it, that you can turn off your lights, you can adjust the air conditioner, obviously, you might be able to open up the door or the garage door or something, but there's a lot of things that you can do, and there's no shortage in regards to what your smart home can do. Maybe it's something with your refrigerator telling you, I know there's some refrigerators that'll tell you how much milk you have left, so when you're at the store, if you need to buy it or whatever. But it just comes down to a preference in regards to what you're looking for. More is less. In our area, there are some communities out there now that are coming with solar panels. So that means every home automatically has solar panels in it. And honestly, I think that if you do want solar panels, I think that's a great location for you to be, in a home where everybody has them, because the property values are going to reflect that. I was talking to a couple of agents earlier this week, and that's one of the hardest things, I think, that, that can be identified by appraisers and all of that kind of stuff, is the solar panels, because they do depreciate on a 25-year span usually. And so when people go to sell their house and they've got solar panels and nobody else in the neighborhood does, and that's something like kind of like a pool or something like that, the buyers have got to be able to qualify in order to make that happen. So it's really important, I think, when you're looking at, whether you want to buy a used home, we'll call it, or a resale home, or if you want to get a new home, that you look at all these things and see kind of, what's your best option. And one thing that I'm very passionate about when it comes to new homes and what people should look for is that I really think that you should use an agent. Now, obviously, I think using me is probably your best bet right there, or a member of my team. But if you don't use us, then I think you should still use an agent. And here's why. Because the bottom line is that, like in Central Florida, there are over 245 communities being built by builders right now. And so there's no way that you're probably going to research all 245 of them. Some of them are not going to be in the area that you want to live, but some of them are, and even in that specific area. So they're kind of spread throughout all of Central Florida. So if you want to be somewhere in the Lake Nona area, there's, probably 60 or 70, communities that are there, if not more. And, if you want to be in the Davenport area, there's 60 or 70 there. And in the Winter Garden area, there's a million of them there, and that spills into Claremont and Oakland and all those places. I'm just talking about the northwest corner, and then the northeast, there's the same. And in the central, there's properties as well. So basically, when it comes down to it, knowing what there is out there and what's the best for you, I think it's imperative that you have an agent. Navigating through that CDD fee, knowing what the taxes are going to be, knowing what your payment's going to be, all of those kinds of things, that you want to check out. Now, one thing that you do need to know when you are purchasing a new home construction is that they do have closing costs different than, a resale property. So in a resale property in Central Florida, for the most part, the seller's paying for the stamps on the deed, and the seller is usually paying for the title insurance. When you're going to a new home community, the builder is expecting you, the buyer, to pay those fees. So when you go in there, it's kind of funny to me. Sometimes they're like, oh, we're going to give you $10,000 towards closing costs. And I'm like going, yeah, that's $10,000 that you would have paid anyway if it was a resale home. And it's true. But, basically the bottom line is they are giving you $10,000 to pay it, but you have to look at apples to apples when you're really doing that. And you need somebody that's a professional that can help you do that. Like I mentioned earlier, that if you want certain amenities, or maybe you want a specific floor plan, and maybe there's just a few too many amenities in this subdivision that you're never really going to use, and so why pay for them? Then there might be another community, like I said, within a mile that fits your needs better, that doesn't have all of those amenities and just has the bare bones and that kind of thing. Maybe you want a community where they cut your grass. Obviously, that's going to be more expensive than one that doesn't and that maintains it. So it really comes down to what you're looking for, what you want to do, all of that kind of thing. That's going to make a huge difference in whether you go with that for you and your family. And so it really is important, like I said, to have an agent that can help you navigate through that. When I was working with the gentleman that I was talking about earlier, that he did the bare bones when it came to upgrades, well, the reason is they were giving him $30,000 in what they called flex cash. So he could have used that for buying down the interest rate, or he could have used that for upgrades in the house. Well, he was concerned because he didn't know what the interest rates were going to be when he went to close, and it ended up that they were pretty close to what they were at the time when he went under contract, which they've stayed pretty stable, so that's a good thing. But basically, he bought down his interest rate and spent $20,000 buying it down so that he had a lower payment on a monthly basis, and then he could go in and do the things later that he wanted to do. And that's what he did. And so he didn't have any trouble qualifying for the loan. He didn't end up overspending at the end and not being able to qualify for the loan, because he was concerned about that, obviously. And so when you're using an agent, they basically come in, they help you do exactly, identify what your needs are, and then help you, guide you to letting you know, hey, this is kind of what's going on. This is what you said you wanted. So I just wanted to check to make sure that you're thinking about what you thought you wanted. And sometimes you might change your mind, and that's all good. That's not a problem. But being aware is what's most important to me, that you know what you're doing and you know what's going on, and that's going to be your best bet, in my opinion. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So basically, we've been talking about new home construction this week. And so I wanted to go, and I know that people are wondering, can I afford something, or can I afford it, or what can I do? And basically, I want to let you know that, we're here to help. We have mortgage partners that we work with, and they do really good in regards to letting you know what you can qualify for, what might be the best deal for you, and all of that kind of thing. But we also have some calculators that are available, and I just went ahead and ran a couple of scenarios and everything this week to kind of look and see and what makes sense. And the first one is the rent versus buy. Should I rent or should I buy? And basically, when you're looking at that, the thing that came out on this, let me see if I could find that real quick. I'm missing my first page of it. So I'm going to find it because I know it's right here in my little stack. And I obviously have that here. Yeah, of course, here it is right here. All right. So what it's saying is that if you look at it's a cost analysis over 5 years is basically what we're looking at. And what we want to see is, first of all, is how much rent are you paying? And so it came out to, the rent was $2,100, which I do believe is pretty close to what people are paying out there in rent. And the monthly payment to buy for the mortgage portion of it was $1,524.56. Now, this is one of the things that I see people doing all the time, is they're just running, this is the mortgage, and they're like, okay, well, I can afford quite a bit because of that. But the thing that they might be forgetting is the taxes, the maintenance, the insurance, and the association dues, and the private mortgage insurance, which you might be required to have. So that's another $639. So basically, and the rent on the insurance on a rental might be like $30 a month. So basically, both of them are coming out to being about the same amount of money that you're going to outlay every month. $2,130 versus $2,150, roughly, is what it was. I guess it was $2,164 is what this came out to. So basically, it was looking at over 5 years, because you're going to have increases on the rent. So it was $2,130 to $2,393, started at where you were at, and you went up a couple $100. So total payments over 5 years, looking at this scenario, would be $135,590 on the rental side. On the purchase side, it would be $129,848. So not really a big difference or anything when you're looking at that. But then when you're looking at your tax savings that you might have as a homeowner, that you've got tax write-offs currently on your income taxes, on the interest that you paid, you've got it on the personal, on the property taxes that you paid, and that kind of thing. So basically, that $129,000 goes to $106,000. So your tax savings was $23,000 over those 5 years. So that makes it, now we're at $135,000 versus $106,000. Then they said, let's look at appreciation. And basically what we're looking at is, basically what they're saying that the sale price of the home was $425, the remaining loan balance after 5 years was $257, and the cost for purchase and sale of the home was going to cost you $31,000 roughly. The down payment was going to be $74,000, and the investment and your return on investment was $8,900, and investment tax owed $2,300. But anyway, the gain on the home ends up being $81,000. So basically, what it comes down to is that if you were to rent a property, that basically the total difference between buying and renting over 5 years is an additional $85,000 in value or money in your pocket, is what they're saying in this particular analysis. So we would have to compare your actual tax rate. We would have to compare, basically the price of the home, the price of the rent, and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is what I'm trying to say is that it's possible to do all this stuff and to go through that exercise with you. So I'm more than happy to. Just give me a call or let me know that you want to do that, and we can look at it. And another thing that I wanted to look at that I thought was really interesting too when it comes to a calculator that we have, and that's how much will I save by increasing my mortgage payment. So we're looking at an original loan amount of $400,000. The length of it was 30 years, and the interest rate was 6.5, and then you were going to pay an additional $100 a month on your payment. So like roughly on the other example, it was like $2,100 and you would pay $2,200 a month. Okay. So the extra payments will allow you to pay off your remaining loan balance 3 years and 2 months earlier because you paid an extra $100 a month. And because you'll pay your loan off sooner, you're going to save $63,918 in interest over the life of the loan. So, that's why a lot of people, sometimes they do that biweekly. If they get paid biweekly, every biweekly, they go ahead and they make a loan payment. And so what that means is that in a year, they're making an extra, I think, 2 or 3 payments, because there's a couple of extra weeks in a few of the months. And so as a result of that, they're cutting like 7 years off of their loan by doing that, by paying every 2 weeks instead of paying every month. So this is just showing that every month you pay an extra $100. And as a result of that, you're going to cut off a $400,000 loan, 3 years and 2 months off of that. And you're going to pay it off sooner and save $64,000 almost of interest over the life of the loan by paying an extra $100 a month. So again, we can calculate this stuff for you and help you out with figuring it out and what makes sense for you so that you can plan and do those kinds of things. Another calculator that we have on here is should you consolidate your loans and get a home equity loan? I know some people like to do that. Other people don't. But if you're looking at credit cards and auto loans and that kind of stuff that have a much higher interest rate, it might come down to doing something like that too. I just threw in, credit card debt of like $20,000 and then a car loan of $25,000. And if you compared that to a home equity loan and everything like that, if you were to consolidate your loans, it would save you $83,585 based on what I put on here, in paying it off. So, the thing is that you just want to be smart about your money. You want to be smart about what you're looking at and what you're doing. And so that's why I was just throwing out those calculators today. We're in a new year, a new time to get started, to look at homes, to figure out what you want to do. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware in regards to the resources that are out there and use me as a resource. I'm more than happy to help you do whatever you want to do when it comes to real estate or anything else that I can help you with. And that's what I'm here for. So in order to get in touch with us, You can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you next week. Have a great one, everybody. Happy New Year. Bye-bye.